was at school, which was in Stratford-on-Avon in the early 60s, I actually wanted to do Latin and was convinced I was going to go to university and do Latin, but then we had this mad Irishman who was a teacher and put me off Latin for life. But then I moved on to phys ed because I played a lot of sport at school, and back then you had to be doing your A-levels in order to get into Teachers College, and I wasn't quite up to that mark. And the girls' school I was at, if you didn't go to university and you didn't go to Teachers College, there wasn't very much else and another any option. So in frustration, what they did with my friend and myself, they brought in a careers advisory officer to school. I remember it was a green form we had to fill in, and we had to put all these options down, and I went and saw this lady, and I sat there for a while and we talked a little bit, and she said, "I think you might like physiotherapy." And I said, oh, what's that? I had no idea. So she talked about it for a little while, and I said, oh yeah, it does sound quite interesting. You know, she pushed the whole physical aspect of exercise and things like that because I was interested in phys ed. And at the time my mum was a secretary at the local cottage hospital in our small village, and Anthea was the physiotherapist there, and I can remember Mum setting up a meeting for me to go and see Anthea and see what physios did in the little relocatable shed out the back of the hospital, I think it was. And there was lots of electrical equipment back then, and very little hands-on stuff. So there was shortwave, and there was some infrared lamps and some ultraviolet. And I thought, oh, wow, this looks exciting. So I thought, oh yeah, okay, this sounds so this might do me. It solved a problem for me at school because it got them off my back as to what I was going to do when I left. In England, we did O-levels at 15, 16 years old, and then you had 2 years to do your A-level course. And I can remember applying to the physio schools, and I think we had a clearinghouse system back then when you had to, if it wasn't a clearinghouse, you certainly had to put an order of preference of which schools you wanted to apply to. So we got all the paperwork and all those sorts of things. I ended up with interviews at Guy's Hospital in London, King's College Hospital in London, and I don't know what the hospital was called in Birmingham. It was out near Edgbaston, I think, and had interviews at all three physio schools. I don't actually remember whether I was offered a place at all three of them, but I accepted King's College Hospital, which was in Camberwell in South London. So I knew, like 18 months before I left school, that I was going to be doing physio. And at that point in time, in fact, it must have been earlier, because my teachers at school were already saying, well, you know, if you're going to do physio, you need to do these subjects. And so those last 2 years at school, my subjects were dictated by their perception of what you needed to do physio, and their perception of what I needed to do physio, and because there was nothing written down, you just had to have completed your O-levels. There was no specifications that you had to have done science at A-level or anything like that. You just had to have your O-levels. English language, which I think was the prerequisite one. I did pure and applied mathematics and physics, and it was the worst 2 years of my life, and I didn't do very well at any of them, and I left school. I think I got the equivalent of an O-level pass at all of those three subjects, and then I got to physio school and discovered my classmates. Somebody had done English and history, and somebody had done geography, and I thought, oh, I wish I could have done those subjects as well, because I don't think it actually enhanced much at all, because then going into physio school, the subjects we did bore very little relation to that advanced, particularly the advanced maths and pure and applied maths that I'd spent my time doing.